He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a better place to live, work, and play. You know, music has been described as social glue. It can bond us together. Throughout history and around the world, music's always had this incredible ability to bring people together. And I think that's never been more important than today. But our guest today already knows that. I want you to welcome to the show Bruce Kirkwood, better known as Bruce the Violinist. We were just listening to some of your music behind my opening. Man, you're just such a talented guy, and I can't wait to tell your story. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ricky, for having me. I really appreciate it. Such a great opportunity.
You've been described as a mix of a blend of metropolitan perspective and Southern charm. You were born in Chicago and you grew up in Gulfport. And you know, it's interesting. As I was doing research about you, you recently did a live stream that reached over 1 million people, and you actually also did the national anthem, performed the national anthem overhead at the Mayo Clinic in honor of George Floyd. You've reached out and touched a lot of people in your young career, haven't you?
I would like to say so, yes, sir.
And you're continuing to do that now. So let's kind of start with in this COVID environment. You know, you're a violinist. We're going to tell your story. You started playing when you were 5 and went to the University of Southern Mississippi, got a degree in accounting. We're going to talk about those things. But in this COVID environment, to be a performer who is used to performing in front of crowds and crowds not being allowed, you had to actually pretty quickly adjust, didn't you?
Immediately, and it was a huge adjustment to make. You know, like you said, going from crowds in front of you, physical faces, physical responses and reactions to the music, to completely no opportunities to perform, no venues to perform at. But I'm very grateful to say that I had a live stream platform, that I had a Facebook page with a good bit of followers that I could turn to during this pandemic time and say, hey, we need to do more virtual performances. We need to get creative, get these juices flowing, and figure out how I can still sustain myself and still present my music to people. These same groups of people who appreciated it before the pandemic, I don't want them to feel robbed. I don't want myself to feel robbed of the fulfillment of being able to do that as well. So it was a huge adjustment, but it's been a really great time. There are a lot of pros that I can extract from this pandemic, and there are cons that I could choose to extract from this pandemic. But overall, I'm blessed and I'm fortunate and I'm positive.
Well, you're really a wonderful inspiration. It's great to know your story, and to know that you got a degree in accounting. You could have gone into business, and with your talent, you could have probably achieved anything in life you wanted to. But you chose to be a full-time, violinist, and you've explored so many different kinds of music, and studying you on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. So as you look back at your career, your young career, how old are you today?
I'm 25 as of this past Monday.
Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Appreciate it.
So
in your
young career, as you look back, what music, given the violin that you're holding now, we'll talk about the different violins here in a second, but given the violin that you're holding now, what song most appeals to you at this moment?
Are we talking styles of music?
Yeah, or what song? Yeah, it could be style or song.
I would definitely say, being considering my background, being raised in the church, being raised in a very Christian environment, and having those principles instilled in me, and that being my background and my experience, I can never pull away from the gospel music, the music that connects with me, the music that connects with different people in that spiritual way. But even gospel music is influenced by so many different styles and different genres of music as well. So I would have to say gospel music, jazz music, and the jazz influences as well. Those would definitely be the top two.
What's your favorite gospel song?
Favorite gospel song? That's a very difficult question to answer, but I probably have to go with, which I actually played a couple of weeks ago in the live stream, Never Would Have Made It. And that's by an awesome artist by the name of Marvin Sapp. And it goes on to say, never would have made it without you. I would have lost my mind a long time ago. Pretty much saying if it weren't for God in my life, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what life would look like. And I think that's a song that really, even when it came out, it was a song that was played in the church. It was played in gospel or Christian arenas. It was played outside of Christian arenas because it's so expandable and it's so it's reaching beyond the church. It has a message that anybody can accept, and they can ascribe that to anyone. They can say, I never could have made it without whatever higher power they choose to believe in, or even a person. But that's definitely, I would say, probably my favorite gospel song, Never Would Have Made It, because it's a message that I feel every day I'm saying in some way. Yeah.
Bruce, my favorite part of church is gospel music as well, for sure. I love the music. Hey, can you play just a little bit of that?
I'll tell you what. Sure can. Let's get some things railed up for a second.
Okay, no problem at all, man. You're playing an electric violin.
Yeah, so this is my baby. I picked it up maybe a couple years ago in New Orleans as a violin shop there called Keller Strings. And I said, this is mine. I played it for about a couple hours and I walked away with it. Still deciding what to name it, but nonetheless, it's my baby. That's just the beginning of it. Just the opening of that song. Just a taste.
So beautiful. I want our listeners to know that you and I did not. I told you to ask you to bring your violin with you, but we said we're not gonna set anything up. We're just gonna have a conversation and see where it takes us. And the answer, gospel music, was sort of not surprising, actually, given how much you've talked about how important God is in your life. But man, have you had a wide variety of music that you've loved, and we'll come back to that as we have your conversation. Okay. But you grew up in Gulfport, and you began playing violin when you were 5 years old. Tell me about that.
So my brother, who is actually a couple of years older than I am, after my family transitioned from Chicago to Gulfport, Mississippi, he eventually joined the orchestra at Bayview Elementary School here in Gulfport, Mississippi. He played the violin for a couple of years, and during that time, I kind of picked it up and played around with it when he put it down. So when he would finish practicing, I would get the beginner's book, I would pick up the violin, I would pluck around with it and have a little bit of fun. But eventually, he put the violin down and he joined the middle school drum line at Bayview Middle School. So at that point, I picked the violin up and I ran with it. So that was the beginning of it. So he is the one who introduced me to the violin. People always ask, how was I introduced to it? What made me pick it up? And I have to say that it was my brother. Now, why he picked it up, I'm not certain. I couldn't speak on his behalf, but that's how I was introduced to the violin. And since day one, I've loved it. Never had to make me practice. It was a passion from day one.
So you must have had a lot of support in your life that would have really enabled you to continue to play. Tell me about that.
Well, I couldn't even talk about it without first talking about my family. My family support is so important to me. even just saying, we want to put you into something like this, we want to support something like this. I'm from a big family. I have 5 siblings, there's 6 of us, and we're pretty much back to back in regards to years. So the oldest is about 31 or 32, and I'm the youngest along with my twin sister. We're both 25. So we were going through the school system, pretty much right behind each other. And so there was a lot of different things going on. There were a lot of resources being stretched. There was a lot of activity, extracurricular, with the kids and with my siblings. So we needed a lot of support, even specifically just on my behalf with the strings program from Bayview Elementary to Gulfport High School. My first violin was given to me, of course, by way of my brother, but the next violin, by way of the instructors at the schools, and they filled in a lot of gaps to help to meet certain needs by partially sponsoring violin lessons and different things like that. So support is huge for me, and I'm always looking for ways to give back and show my appreciation.
Well, that's such an awesome part of your story. Why don't we do this? This is Bruce the violinist, Bruce Kirkwood, a really, really inspiring young man. We'll come back to him after this break and continue his life story.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook, facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Bruce Kirkwood, Bruce the violinist, with us today. And when we went to the break, we were talking about him picking up his brother's violin when he was 5 years old. And I thank God your brother set it down because it opened up some opportunities. What's so cool about the story, though, Bruce, is that people need to understand that music programs. I'm the product of a music program in the Gulfport school system. That music programs at a young age are incredibly important. And the reason your brother was introduced to the violin was through the Gulfport District Strings program. Tell us about that and how it influenced you.
Yeah. Well, my brother was introduced to it. Thank God he was, like you said. And he actually was really great at it, but he was also very talented. He is very talented. So naturally, he was pulled in different directions. So the drum line at Bayview Middle School was introduced to him, and it appealed to him enough to the point where he joined that. And he kind of still played around with the violin, but it naturally fell into my hands because I was interested as well. So I'm grateful there are a lot of great instructors and faculty and staff surround the Gulfport School District, and specifically the strings program. Daniel Martinez is the person that I owe so much to. And I can definitely say that I'm very appreciative of the sacrifices, the time and effort that he puts into the Gulfport School District Strings program to create a people who want to take the violin is beyond school.
Wow, that's always so important to hear. The one that influenced me was a guy named John Pearson, and he was just such an amazing band director, and he taught us, he taught us to be on time. He taught us, the importance of practicing, and that there are no easy steps in life. You don't skip steps in life. You gotta put the time in if you want to be great at something. And that's true, I think, of anyone who picks up a musical instrument. But we have those people in our lives that we never forget them. I mean, they're the ones who set the course for us. And while I didn't, I still bang on the drums, but while I didn't stay in music per se like you did, it still, all of those learnings affected every aspect of my life through today.
Right.
And I know you did. So you were the youngest violinist in the Magnolia Professional Chamber Orchestra. How was that?
It was very intimidating. I will say that I was a completely different person and musician at that point. I hadn't quite stepped into the confidence that I have now as a musician. But it was very new, very different. And like I said, it was a lot of, I was very intimidated by it, but it was a good and healthy pressure for me to work twice as hard, to work on the music, even just to maintain where I was in the orchestra. I know I was not first chair. I was not first violin. I was second violin, and I might have been in the back of the section. But it was an opportunity for me to grow. It was an opportunity for me to be challenged and to expand as a person and as a musician. This is a group, this is an ensemble of foreigners, of Latinos, and it's myself and they're Caucasian. So it was a great introduction as well of music and culture and diversity. So it kind of opened up my eyes to the different paths of people who are musicians and how we can all come together, and how music brings us together to the point where we don't see ethnicity, we don't see race, we don't see color and creed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great opportunity for me to even be a part of that, to be challenged, to travel across the country and to perform. It was an amazing experience.
What a great story. You and I talked about before we started that I'm a big fan of Beethoven and Vivaldi and Bach and of course Mozart, and that we agreed that Vivaldi might be our favorite among them. So you played in that orchestra, you played a lot of classical music, I guess, and this was really an opportunity for you to really, stretch some muscles you maybe didn't have before. Tell about how important that was.
It was very important. I think as a musician, it's always good to take yourself outside of your comfort zone, to be challenged in certain areas. For me, it was that orchestra. It was eventually local youth orchestras. It was eventually University of Southern Mississippi. It was even playing as a musician at my church, different styles and genres that kind of grow you and expand you in certain areas. So it was an amazing opportunity for me to be challenged on such a professional level, and playing music that was far beyond at that moment what I could imagine myself ever playing. But to look back in retrospect, or even every step of the way, and say, wow, what I once looked at as such a challenge that I couldn't, dare to approach, now I've conquered it, now I've worked on it, and now it's something that I can say that I do well. So it was definitely a great opportunity to recondition my mind, to look at a thing as insurmountable, and then to look back at it and say, I did that.
And then what it does when you begin to move on into other genres like blues and, as you mentioned a minute ago, gospel and pop and R&B and all that you ended up getting into, it really did make those transitions easier. And I'll say something. I had a great conversation with Steve Azar recently. Steve Azar is a writer. He, lived in Nashville, has some hit songs, and he lives in Greenville now. And he loves being in the root of blues. And he said to me when we talked, he said, how can something that's so painful, talking about blues and where it came from, make you feel so good? And, it's just, it's so interesting getting in touch with this music and the talent. I mean, in Mississippi, you're like now a product of Mississippi. Mississippi's connection to the birth of music and blues and so much. It's the history is incredible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll tell you what,
go ahead.
To kind of talk about what you said about listening to music, even blues, something that is rooted in times and periods of times that weren't so great. I think it's a testament to music itself, or emotions themselves, and how emotions in themselves aren't bad. It's not bad to feel sad, to cry, and to feel certain ways, even angry. But music kind of connects with you, and you find yourself being in a good place, being in a positive place. I think it's just a testament to show that we sometimes look at those emotions and we label them as unhealthy, we label them as bad, or we label those times where we experience those things as bad times. But music steps into play and it says, look, these emotions are healthy to have. These feelings are healthy to have. And I think music just kind of levels the playing field, and it just kind of makes everything so much more brighter, and kind of makes people have a much more positive outlook on certain things. Music is powerful in ways that we can't even understand.
I can't agree more. And as I said in the beginning, music is social glue. It bonds us together. And in this time of evolution in our country, there's certainly a lot of pain. There's a lot of awakening. There's a lot of conversations in the country now about, where do we go from here? How do we how do we best focus on racial injustice in a way that helps people come to grips with there's more we can do. It's we need music. We need what it brings to us, and we need people to come together. I mean, people may disagree, but maybe we can teach people to respect one another again and to be more open to their point of view so that we can hear what they're saying and realize that there's always more evolution that we as human beings can make to understand where other people are coming from. You think about that, I'm sure.
Yes.
So do you write? Yeah, go ahead.
Do I write music?
No, go ahead. Were you going to say something else?
No, it's fine. You asked, do I write music specifically?
Yeah, do you write?
I don't necessarily compose, no, but sometimes I have music floating around in my head, and I do have original music as well, but I do not compose. I can, but it's just not quite my area.
Yeah. Well, I bet you have writing songs in your future. I bet you do, because you can't be exposed to so much and have such a positive view toward the world and not want to make your mark. I predict you're going to make your mark, Bruce. You're already making your mark by touching people, by opening doors, by bringing people together and all those things. You feel it, don't you? I mean, you felt it before all of this unrest occurred, but you feel it even more today, don't you?
Even more. Yes.
So, what I want to do, why don't you play a little something else as we get to go into the next, to the next break, and then we'll come off on the other end. What do you want to play next?
Well, speaking of originals, I think it might be fitting to play an original of mine, and it's actually going to be officially released mid-July. It's called Smooth Sailing, and I'd like to play that one if you don't mind. All right.
Go, and we'll take that to the break.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We've got Bruce the violinist, Bruce Kirkwood, with us today. And when we went to break, he was playing an original. And during the break, I said to him that I'm going to call him Bruce the Modest. Because he just got finished telling me that he doesn't write too much. And then he went and played a beautiful, very beautiful song that he wrote. So where did the inspiration for that song come from, Bruce?
Well, the inspiration for that song, which is called Smooth Sailing, it came from really everything that's going on. And going into this pandemic, I used my platform on Facebook and just in a community to really encourage people to, in spite of everything that's going on, even in light of everything going on, we can still have a positive outlook on life, and we can choose or choose not to feel certain things or label things a certain way. And I said one thing, and that was that even in the midst of everything that's going on in our world, there's a lot of strain, there's stress, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of heartache, and different things like that. Although the world is hurting, although the world is experiencing so many of these things, we don't necessarily have to personally, our personal world, experience all of these different things. And to an extent, we can smoothly sail through these experiences by maneuvering in healthy ways and feeling feelings only to the extent to which it's healthy and choosing to accept certain things. And in light of everything else that's going on, our personal worlds can look like smooth sailing. This smooth sailing single is really it's rooted in that, and that's kind of where it came from. But I wanted to be a song for people to listen to, and to just kind of take them away from all of the pain and the agony that people are experiencing during these current events and these current times. And just even if it's just in those moments, choose to just sail through those moments and just kind of take themselves away from all of the pain. So that's kind of where it's rooted in, and I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, well, I love it too, man. I love it too. What a beautiful song. Yeah, I think it's not going to be smooth sailing, but you're right. I mean, people need to find those moments in their lives where they feel a sense of happiness and
Right.
calmness, and can be in the quietness of their own thoughts, and realize that we do live in the world. I mean, even before the most recent issues with George Floyd, that we lived in a place with the COVID situation and other challenges that we face where there were a lot of opportunities to be stressed. That there's no question about
Right.
that. And now even more so that there's this opportunity. I think that where we are today, we're in a different place. I think we're going to find hearts opening around the world that are more focused on this issue today. We're not going to solve all the problems today. We don't need to feel the stress to solve all the problems today, but over time,
Right.
because of the realization that is occurring, I think we're going to make significant progress in humanity, I believe. And, listening to that beautiful song, it gives you a sense of peace that we might be able to find that place, I hope that you think that way too. I know you do.
Definitely. Definitely.
So let's go. We'll come back to some of the situation, the current events toward the end of the show. Just get a couple of thoughts from you. But you've performed at Houston Rockets. You've performed the Archdiocese of New York, the Mayo Clinic that I mentioned earlier, the Essence Festival. You've actually you've been around for a young guy. So
Yes, sir.
what is it? The opportunities, people just keep, discovering you, and opportunities become available to you. Tell me about that.
Well, I always, as a musician and as a businessman, a professional, I look at every opportunity as an opportunity for further or additional opportunities. So every event that I go to and provide my services, I say I'm going to treat it as if it's an interview of sorts, and I'm going to prove to people that I am, my services are worth taking beyond this event, beyond this moment. So every opportunity to perform always leads to further and additional opportunities. So naturally, it's a lot of word of mouth, of course, I guess marketing and advertisement, but of course, it's the different marketing that I use for my website and for social media and different things like that. But yeah, Archdiocese of New York was a great opportunity. The Houston Rockets, as a corporate violinist, first and foremost, it's amazing to be in those arenas and those at those events, to be able to, dress up, be professional, and just kind of feel like you're in that corporate America feel and presence. And it's just really good. With my accounting background, I was used to being in that environment. So it's great to feel at home being there again. Festivals all over the country and different things like that. And of course, everything in between when it comes to birthday parties, anniversaries, and weddings and things of that sort. But it's a blessing to be able to travel and to be in different environments and to present my gift.
So you had this opportunity to play your violin, which I know is inspiring. Are you ever in situations where you get an opportunity to talk while you play?
Yes.
So is that
Outside.
like motivational discussions, or tell me about
Correct.
that?
So I've done events for youth empowerment mainly, where I speak. I might open up with music and just kind of let that lead the way and lay the foundation. So as I speak, it really connects with them. But just really getting up there as an example of someone, even in this community, who was raised here, kind of got, what the tools and the resources from this area and has gone on to do something and to reach some sort of success. But to really be an example that you can rise up, you can succeed here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast when everyone elsewhere all over the country have a certain outlook towards where we are. And they choose to say certain things like, what can come out of Mississippi, or no good thing can come out of Mississippi. And I think we need examples of people who are willing to get up and speak on their behalf and just say, in spite of what everyone is saying, you have what it takes, you have the resources. You might not have all the resources that you would like to have, but use what you have and do what you can. So I always love to seek out youth empowerment opportunities to play, to speak, specifically connecting with the youth. But I definitely see in the future it taking me far beyond that in different arenas and platforms as well.
God bless you, Bruce Kirkwood, for using your gift to inspire others. That's what the world needs now. Even before the current situation, Mississippi always had this problem, this perception that we're one thing when in reality we didn't deserve everything everyone said. I felt like that race relations in Mississippi had improved dramatically over many, many years. We got work to do, man. Don't get me wrong. We know that. We know that now more than ever, but we've made a lot of progress, and that we've got a lot to be proud of. I mean, just looking at we said it early, but just looking at the music contributions of the state, it's incredible. And the fact that we continue to turn them out, new generations of great artists, the opportunity you have to dispel myth in people's minds about this place and about the people who live here. I had a conversation with Phil Bryant, I guess maybe last week or week before last on the show, and he said, when people come here, he says the people are so nice. People who are visiting, CEOs or others, they say, man, people in Mississippi, they're just nice. Right. They said, yeah, they are nice. This is the hospitality state. That's what, after Katrina, we learned that buildings don't make a community, the people do. That's what makes it such a special place, the people that are here. And anyway, we're coming to the end of this segment. Play something else to close out this segment, and then we'll pick it up on the other side.
Okay, sounds good.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast View on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have Bruce Kirkwood, Bruce the Violinist. I renamed him Bruce the Modest there in the show today. That was such a beautiful song that you played going into the break. It's interesting. I never know for sure how a show's going to go. People will, you and I didn't plan this out. I didn't send you questions ahead of time. I like to kind of do my homework on the people that I'm having a conversation with, and then I want to hear their story, and I just want the conversation to go wherever it goes. But when I did my research on you, I sort of knew that it was going to be inspiring, that I was going to be touched, and if I'm touched, other people are going to be touched. And I can't thank you enough for that inspiration. It's interesting. Tell me more about playing. I think you mentioned the Negro National Anthem. Mm-hmm. At the Mayo Clinic. Tell me about that experience, and tell us about the Negro National Anthem.
So playing the Negro National Anthem, which as we discovered was written in 1900 and put to song in 1905. But it's just a song that really uplifts the African American community, and it encourages us to lift our voices and sing. And I think even if we look at the current events now, where a lot of people feel like they don't have a voice, they feel like their voices aren't heard. I think it's something that really, really touches and connects with our community. But playing at Mayo Clinic, the Negro National Anthem, where there are several different cultures and races. You have African Americans, you have Latinos, Hispanics, you have Caucasians, you have Asians, and they all came to the atrium of Mayo Clinic, and they had a moment of silence for George Floyd. And then we went into playing I myself went to playing the Negro National Anthem. And in that moment, you saw tears not just coming from the eyes of Black people, you saw tears coming from the eyes of every race that was represented in that room. And I think it really set the mood. And I think it really, in that moment, to see an African-American young man playing the Negro National Anthem to a diverse crowd of people, I think that in that moment was a testament in itself. But I think really more than anything, the aftermath of that moment was very powerful to me, to see so many different people of all races approach me afterwards to hug, to do the social distance, elbow bumps, and to really just say thank you so much. It really, really opened my eyes. Or thank you so much for doing that to me. It really meant so much. But everyone showed their appreciation, their love, their concern, not just to me, but to one another. I think the picture of that moment was showing how even music can bring everybody together and how it can level the playing field. And in those moments, we see one another for who we are. We don't see race. We don't see skin tone. We don't see color. And I think it had a very, very powerful effect on the people that were there. And I really do appreciate Mayo Clinic for the opportunity to do so.
Man, that's so true. And I just wish people will just listen to that, because when we join hands and we look at each other in the eye and we have respect and we show appreciation and we open our hearts and our minds, we can do amazing things together. And I am confident that this moment that we're in we're going to find that place. I did a quick Wikipedia search, incidentally, and the first thing that pops up on the history of the Negro National Anthem, which is the name of the song, is "Lift Every Voice and Sing." It was publicly performed first as a poem, as part of the celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. I found that so interesting, and so that it voiced the power and the cry for liberation and affirmation of the African American people, and so there's a lot of history of that in that song in the African American community, and it's amazing that at that moment in time at the Mayo Clinic, that people from all races were joining hands, and maybe we should do that more often. Hey, listen. It's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. I can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to see you in person. And maybe one day soon I'll be able to hug your neck and really thank you in person for the inspiration that you're able to provide. Why don't you do me a favor? Would you mind playing the Negro National Anthem to close out the show today?
I don't mind at all.
God bless you, buddy. Wow, what a beautiful song. Bruce Kirkwood, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us and inspiring us.
I'm so glad to hear that, man. It's really a pleasure to be here on the platform. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet, buddy. Have a great day.
You as well. God bless you.